another video. Just want to say before I start, like, subscribe, share my video, follow my Instagram, which I'm gonna post here on the screen, and let's get started with this video. All right, so this video is it's an interesting video. It's confusing, but I'm gonna explain it the best I can. This is all pre-COVID. This is like before COVID was actually serious, so basically we could still travel at this time, etc, etc. I don't really have like the perfect timeline, but I can give like a general area. So this is February, I believe, of last year, like before the travel ban, everything like that. So I'm not gonna say any real names or anything, I'm just gonna give a nickname. But I do have some receipts which I'm gonna post throughout the video, so stay tuned for those. So basically, I started talking to this guy, and you know, he was really nice, really sweet. Like, I was shook because I was like, wow, like, you know, someone's actually really nice and caring and motivated, ambitious to do, you know, what he wants to do with his life and all of this and that. So after like a while of talking, we finally met, and you know, we went on a date. We went to eat and we did something else, but I don't remember. Honestly, like, I've like tried to like shut down this like out of my brain as much as possible because the way it ended was just so fucked up. But, you know, my friend met him as well because we were both traveling to the same place. So she met him. She was like, wow, like, you know, he's pretty cool, especially like the area that like we were in. She was surprised because she was from there. So yeah, it was all going well, you know. After the weekend, we continued to talk. Everything was good. We had planned to meet up again, but this was now starting to be when the travel ban was happening, so we weren't able to meet again and, you know, hang out and stuff because of the travel ban. Oh, actually, pause. So we were supposed to meet up one day, but he like misplaced his passport or whatever. So like I wasn't tripping about it because this was close, like starting to when everything was starting to pop off with COVID. But before that had happened, like when we were hanging out, you know, like once we started to get more deeper into conversation, I started to realize certain things. Like, he had a very bad memory, like certain things he couldn't remember. It's like something that like we literally might have just talked about 30 minutes ago, or something that he might have told me, and then he'd be like, oh, like I don't remember saying that or whatever. Like, he told me that he just recently got a credit card, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, and he was asking me, like, you know, do I have a credit card? I'm like, yeah, I have a credit card. I've had one for a while just to build my credit. And we were talking about like credit score and all of that shit. And then when we were talking about when he was supposed to travel here, he was like, oh, like, well, I need a credit card. And I was like, yeah, you're gonna need a credit card to like book your hotel or Airbnb, whatever. He's like, oh, I don't have a credit card. And I was like, bruh, wait, what? Like, you told me you had a credit card. So like, it was just like small things like that. Like, I started to notice like his memory just wasn't there, and I just started like piecing little things together, but like I wasn't really, you know, serious with things. I was like, oh, whatever, like maybe he just has a bad memory, like some people do. Whatever, it wasn't a big deal. And then there was just one specific conversation that we had. He had told me like, oh, he had like a dream. He's like, oh, I had a dream about like my birth mother, and you know, how she's thinking about me and this and that. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, like that's interesting. And like I started asking him more questions about like his birth family, and he had told me that like they've never met or anything like that. And I was like, okay. I'm also adopted, so like I could I guess understand the feeling, but I did tell him, you know, like just because you think that they might want, you know, to speak to you and all of that stuff. What you might be thinking in your head might not be reality, because at the end of the day, like when you're adopted, like obviously you want your birth family to really, you know, want to know about you, want to know things, but that's not always how it is, you know. So I was just explaining to him like my story, and you know, trying to explain to him like shit's not always what you want it to be type thing. And he kind of like went off on like I don't even want to call it a mental breakdown. I just want to call it, I don't even know what to call it, but like he just started getting weird, like saying how, oh, his adopted parents got a whole bunch of money for adopting him, and how they don't care about him, and this and that, and he wants to be with his birth family, and just going on and on and on. And I was like, okay, like obviously like when you're adopted, like sometimes some people experience like abandonment issues and stuff like that, but it's really takes a long time, you know. For me, it was like as I got older, I kind of just like accepted it and was like, you know, I was given to a great family, and I just had to accept it, you know, everything. And for me, like I believe everything happens for a reason. And you know, and when we were chilling like in person, he told me about his adopted family, and he was telling me how, you know, like they're nice and he has a lot of siblings and this and that. So it was kind of strange to me that he literally did like a whole 360 and then sort of going off on how they're bad, how they got a whole bunch of money for adopting him and this and that. And I was kind of like, oh, like maybe, you know, if you feel this strongly about it, like you should speak to like a counselor or speak to somebody, you know, like just to get those feelings out there. And he's like, oh, I'm not gonna do that shit. I'm not gonna pay somebody who doesn't give a fuck about me to listen to my problems, blah blah. So I was like, okay, like no problem, like I'm not a therapist, so like I can listen to what you have to say. I can just tell you from my experiences like what it is. Okay, you know, no worries, no problem. Like maybe I'll just give you a bit of space, you know, to like figure, you know, to like calm down, I guess, because he was kind of like going off at me, like, and it was more on like an attacking way, like kind of coming at me as like I'm the bad person because like I don't agree with what he's saying type thing. So anyways, after that specific conversation, I was kind of taken back, not because like of the conversation, but as the way he was speaking to me. Like it's not something that I appreciated. I thought it was rude, and you know, he was kind of like attacking me for not agreeing with what he had to say about it. And like I'm never the type of person who would want someone to, you know, think exactly how I think. There's everything I have to say. Like everyone has their own brain, their own way of thinking, their own mentality. So like I would never force someone to agree with what I'm saying, and like if they don't agree with me, get mad at that. To me, that's just childish. And I was like, you know, I took like a couple days to think about it, and I just took some of the other conversations we were having and took those into consideration as well, that were kind of going the same way. And just like the whole memory thing started to kind of raise like a little bit of a red flag with me. And then I remembered that when we were talking previously, he was telling me how he wants to go back into football and this and that. And I was like, okay, like why did you stop playing football to begin with? And he's like, oh, I got injured. And I was like, oh, okay, so like it was like a one-time injury type thing. He's like, no, I was injured 8 times. And I was like, bruh, 8 times? Like 8 times? And he explained to me that he was told not to play football ever again. And I was just like, oh hell no. And then after I had remembered that conversation, I started putting 2 and 2 together, and I'm like, this guy must have something going on, like mentally, like internally, from all the injuries. Because he was saying like, oh, sometimes he, you know, he can't sleep, or he has memory loss and yada yada. And I was like, oh my god, like nah. So I did my own research a little bit, and I was just like, yo, like all the facts are here. Like he has something going on like mentally. And like I'm not saying like it's obviously like if you're playing a sport where you can get injured, yeah, you can get injured, and things can happen, but it's kind of like if you know that, I believe that you should seek the help that you need, because injury is not something to play with, first of all, especially when it has to do with like your brain and all of that. So after I thought about it for a bit, I had told him, like, I think I want to take a step back and, just, let's just, take a step back. And obviously with COVID going on and everything, like, we can't meet and this and that. So let's just chill, And then he was like, yeah, like, I agree, yada, yada. And he, the next day, had sent me a snap. He sent me a snap of him and a girl, and I was kind of like, okay, so, like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to, like, make me jealous, or like make me
what was the reason? What was the reason? What was the reason?
Let's just chill type thing. So now you're sending me a picture of being a girl for what? Like, is it supposed to make me jealous or feel something? Because it doesn't. Because I'm the one who told you that I didn't really want to talk like that no more, or like for the time being, whatever. So I sent him a laughing emoji, because I was like, okay, whatever. And then he was just like, he got like kind of mad. He's like, oh, like, what are you laughing at? And I was like, why are you sending me a snap of you and another girl? Like, what is that supposed to do for me? Like, because the fact that I told you that I didn't really, want to talk in like a dating way at the moment, like, you feel the need to send me a video of you and another girl type thing? Like, I don't get it. And then he started like going off. He's like, oh, you're the only person on my Snapchat that does weird shit and blah blah blah. And I was like, weird shit how? Like, if like, literally we were talking, right, and I told you that I don't really want to talk like that, and then you send me a picture or a video of you and a girl the next day, like going out or whatever. Like, what's the point? Like, what if I did that to you? You can't tell me you're not gonna say nothing, and I know that for a fact. And he just started going off. We started like going back and forth, and I was kind of just like taken back, like, here we go. Like, I'm gonna post some of the text messages. Like, I can't even repeat some of the stuff that he was saying to me, but dude was going off. He was going off saying that I don't know about what it's like to live in the land of the free, because I live in Canada, and blah 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 blah. Oh, my blackness left me a long time ago, and just going off. Like, when I say man was going off, he was going off. Like, he was mad. I'm gonna post some of the receipts, but dude was going off. Like, I was shook. I was like, I just told him basically, like, I don't have time to go back and forth with the kid. And he had told me previously that in his past relationships, he likes being the one in control. Like, he likes being the person who wears the pants in the relationship. And that was another thing that made me decide to stop talking to him, because I'm like, I don't like when people say that type of shit. Like, there's obviously dominance and submissiveness in a relationship, but like to say that to me, I was just kind of like, no, like, that's just another red flag to me. And he made like a specific comment, and he was like, oh, if my last girlfriend had listened to me, then we would still probably be together. And I was kind of like, no. Like, after like I just started hearing all of these things, I was just like, no, like, I cannot, like, ugh. I just like started putting two and two together, and I was like, nah, like, I'm not feeling this no more. I'm not. So yeah, so we started, after we're going back and forth, oh yeah, and he was talking about how he's gonna like expose me. I never sent this dude nothing. Like, I never sent him no pics or nothing like that, so I don't know what he was talking about. But he was like, yeah, I'm gonna expose you and this and that. And I was just like, bruh. And he kept calling me. He kept like blowing up my phone. And this was at like probably like 1 in the morning when we were going back and forth. And obviously, like, I still live with my parents, so like, I'm not gonna answer my phone and start going back and forth with dude. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So he sent me a bunch of texts in a row. I just sent him like 2 long messages, and I blocked the guy. I was like, you know what, I'm done. Block, forgotten, never talked to him till this day, never heard from him till this day. But yeah, like the whole situation was just so fucked. Like it just took a turn for the worse. And to me, it's like, if someone starts showing me certain signs that keep happening, you know, and doesn't really recall it happening, to me that's just like an issue. Like I don't like, yeah, it was just so bizarre to me. So the next morning, like my friend who had met him with me, I sent her the text messages and she was shook. She was like, bro, like how did things take a turn so bad? And I was like, I honestly have no idea. Like they just took a turn for the worst. And just after like going back into my memory, I remember him also stating that he wanted to work with kids. Like he wanted to work with kids and like teach them football or whatever. And I'm like, this is not the type of person that should be working with kids. Like if you know, get mad easily like that, and yeah, like he needed a little bit of help, you know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing wrong with asking people for help, and I feel like he needed help. But yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, so safe to say, after that I took a long break from talking to anybody. I already wasn't really in the dating game. I had just gotten out of like a bad relationship that I was single for like almost a year. Like I just was so over men, and like I was just like, you know what, let's give it another go. And then that shit happened and I was like, I'm done. So after that situation, after that whole texting thing happened, I blocked him of everything, blocked him on Instagram, blocked him on Snapchat, blocked his number, never heard from him. I wasn't really worried about him like that. Like usually I'm the type of person who kind of feels bad like to reach out to people, but for him I was like, no, I'm not doing that shit. Like I did nothing wrong. You fucked up here. And yeah, like, and he was very, very good looking. Like I'm not gonna lie, he was very, very good looking. Like very good looking, like very my type, you know, tattoos, very good looking. But looks ain't everything, honey. Looks ain't everything. If you got a shitty personality, it's a no-go for me. So yeah, that is my story. And yeah, let me know if you like this story time. I'm trying to remember if I left anything out. He also brought up the fact of how he wanted, or he was like asking me like, oh, like when would we were to date, when would I be ready to move in and stuff like that. And I was like, that's like a huge discussion, and I don't want to really discuss that right now, because at this time, like at this point, he lived in the States and I lived in Canada. So and I'm also an American citizen. I was born in the States, but I was like, that would be something that I think I would have to be with a person for like quite a long time for me to, you know, just leave my, like where I'm from, like where I live now, to go to the States. And then yeah, he didn't really like that. He kind of like, oh, like he doesn't want to come to Canada, doesn't see himself living in Canada, which is fine. Like everyone has their own preference, but like I'm not just about to be talking to someone, you know, dating them for like 6 months to a year just to fucking leave. Like I ain't gonna do that. Like this video, I tried my best to explain everything, but I hope you liked my video. My next videos are coming. I'm doing a Shanna haul next, which I can't wait. I know like my previous video was short, but this one's gonna be much longer. I'm gonna do styling ideas and everything. So yeah, I hope you like my video, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.